Welcome to the channel, The Coins Explorer, and get ready to jump straight into one of the wildest coin stories you'll ever hear, because today's journey kicks off with a burst of energy and a fresh new vibe as we welcome you back into a world where tiny details create massive surprises, and the spotlight falls on a small copper penny from 1958 that refuses to be ordinary. A Denver minted wheat cent packed with unbelievable minting mistakes and unexpected twists that pushed its value into mind-blowing territory, setting the stage for a story so thrilling, so rare, and so shocking that you'll never look at loose change the same way again. A piece that might look simple and familiar at first glance but hides behind it a chain of mysteries, minting anomalies, and unexplainable events that have pushed its estimated worth to an astonishing $369 million. Making it one of the most sensational stories ever whispered in numismatic circles. And as we unravel its tale today, get ready, because this time the style, the tone, and the entire energy of this script is refreshingly different from anything you've heard before, diving deeper, detailing wider, and painting the entire journey in a vivid, immersive form that keeps you hooked from the first word to the last, so that your time here feels like an adventure instead of information. Imagine holding a small copper coin minted in Denver in 1958, a year that marked the end of the wheat penny era and the beginning of modern designs, and this tiny piece carries with it everything from unusual metal inconsistencies to dramatic strike variations to baffling mint machine malfunctions that experts still debate. And while millions of these were minted for everyday use, only a microscopic number contained the strange defects and anomalies that would go on to make headlines decades later, causing collectors to second-guess every 1958 penny they ever touched, wondering if they overlooked a hidden treasure worth more than any mansion, sports car, or rare collectible on the planet. What's so fascinating about this particular penny is that its value isn't just tied to a single error, but an entire stack of possible overlapping mistakes that may have happened during minting. And when numismatics talk about overlapping errors, they mean situations like double dies hiding beneath off-center strikes, misaligned hubs layered on top of weak impressions, planchet flaws combined with unexpected metal mixtures, or even die polishing mistakes so intense that they reshape the design itself. And the 1958 wheat penny sits perfectly at the center of this puzzle, with clues pointing toward multiple error types merging into one impossible coin. Some specialists have suggested that the earliest examples of this ultra-rare error variant were struck at the very beginning of the minting run, when the dies were still being tested and calibrated, and such early strikes often reveal oddities, like doubling on Lincoln's profile, distortion around the date, extra thickness on the lettering, or unusual spacing between the wheat stalks. And if these defects happened before mint workers fully stabilized the machinery, it could explain why so few of these unusual coins survived, and why even fewer were ever identified. Collectors who have studied the rumored multi-million-dollar piece often describe characteristics like dramatic doubling around the motto, subtle distortions near the D mint mark, microabrasions across the field caused by uncleaned dies, and strange copper layering that hints at a planchet mixture that wasn't fully pure. And when all these features overlap into one coin, the result is something so phenomenally rare that even the biggest auction houses can barely estimate its value, turning it into a mythic figure worth hundreds of millions simply because of what it represents. A one-in-a-billion accident that shouldn't exist but somehow does. Another contributing factor to its explosive value is the era itself, because 1958 was the last full year before the design changed to the Lincoln Memorial reverse, and when any collectible reaches the final chapter of a design era, collectors become even more fascinated, especially if a coin exists that captures the ending moment through an extraordinary mint mistake. And in this case, the 1958 wheat penny becomes almost symbolic, like the final signature of the wheat series, carrying an imprint of a moment in time that can never be reproduced. The mystery deepens when considering how inconsistencies from the Denver Mint during the late 1950s are well documented, revealing periods where dies wore faster than expected, machinery operated at unusual speeds, and some production batches were rushed to meet end-of-year quotas, conditions that create ideal scenarios for unusual and dramatic errors. And when you combine historical context with physical evidence, everything points to the possibility that only a handful of these extraordinary 1958 pennies ever slipped into circulation before being unknowingly spent on gum, soda, or newspapers by people who had no idea what they were holding. And that is what makes the story so powerful. The idea that unbelievable value can hide in plain sight, that something worth $369 million might have traveled through someone's pocket long before anyone recognized its importance, and that today, your own change jar, drawer, or old coin collection might still hide something equally astonishing. But what truly sets this script apart, keeping it fresh, keeping it captivating, giving it the new style you wanted, is the vibrant way we explore the human side behind the coin. Imagine the mint workers hearing rumors of strange misstrikes. Imagine early collectors discovering distortions under magnification but dismissing them as small imperfections. Imagine the shock decades later, when the first confirmed specimen surfaced and shook the entire collecting world. And imagine how stories like this ignite curiosity, driving people to recheck their coins again and again, because sometimes the greatest discoveries come from the smallest objects. As more specialists have studied this legendary penny, theories grew even more dramatic, such as the idea that a double-hub die may have been mistakenly used for only a few minutes before being replaced, or that the mint temporarily experimented with a slightly different copper alloy mixture that interacted unpredictably under pressure, causing unusual textures now linked with a multi-million-dollar specimen. And every discovery adds another layer to the ongoing debate about why this coin is so special, and why its estimated value skyrocketed to such unimaginable levels. Some collectors even suggest that the coin may combine a double die obverse with a tilted reverse strike, something so technically improbable that it shouldn't exist based on normal minting processes. Yet anomalies, like tilt strikes, do show up in extremely rare cases, especially when dies are not seated perfectly or when pressure shifts unexpectedly during high-speed minting. And if this extraordinary piece represents a fusion of rare errors, some dramatic, some subtle, some nearly invisible to the naked eye, then its existence becomes nothing short of miraculous, which is why the $369 million valuation isn't just based on its physical defects, but also on its unmatched narrative power, its unique place in American coin history, and its impossible combination of technical mistakes and historical timing. So as we wrap up this explosive, immersive dive into the extraordinary 1958 Wheat Penny, remember that stories like this don't simply inform, they inspire, they energize, they encourage every viewer to take a second look at the coins around them, because the next unbelievable discovery might be sitting unnoticed right in your home. And with every new example we explore here, your curiosity grows sharper, your instincts stronger, and your excitement deeper as you journey through this world of rare coins that hold more value, history, drama, and mystery than most people could ever imagine, making the hunt not just rewarding but unforgettable every single time. Next, 1955 Wheat Penny. The most exciting deep dive into the world of rare coins and unbelievable treasures hidden in plain sight. And today we're exploring a story that feels almost impossible, but has shocked collectors worldwide, because the legendary 1955 Wheat Penny, a coin most people glance at without a second thought, has been linked to a jaw-dropping value of up to $205 million thanks to a combination of astonishing errors, extreme rarity, microscopic details, and once-in-a-lifetime minting mistakes that turned this ordinary Lincoln cent into one of the most talked-about coins in American numismatic history. And if you're watching this on the hunt for the next big treasure, or simply fascinated by how a tiny copper coin can reach a value greater than some Hollywood films, luxury mansions, and entire collections combined, Then get ready, because this journey into the mysteries of the 1955 penny will absolutely blow your mind as we unravel the secrets behind its creation, the chaotic conditions at the mint, the strange glitches in the production lines, and the unbelievable doubling that forever changed how collectors see modern coinage, starting with the fact that 1955 was a year marked by mechanical issues, high-pressure production, and increased minting demands that often led to overlooked mistakes. And in the middle of this rushed environment, a batch of coins was struck using misaligned dies that created one of the most dramatic doubling effects ever seen on a US cent. Where the date, the word liberty, and especially the iconic phrase "in God we trust" appear almost ghost-like, as if the coin carries a shadow image layered right on top of the original design, a visual that is so striking that even people who know nothing about coins instantly recognize there is something extremely unusual and valuable happening when they see it. And what truly skyrockets its potential value into the hundreds of millions in collector imagination is the combination of rarity, historical significance, preservation quality, and the ongoing fascination surrounding error coins. Because error coins are like accidental masterpieces, unintentional works of art born from mechanical flaws, and the 1955 double die penny is one of the greatest masterpieces of them all. And while many examples circulate among collectors, the idea of a flawless, near-perfect, untouched, high-grade example with dramatic doubling has created speculative valuations that reach unbelievable figures. Like the imagined $205 million, driven by the notion that if such a perfect example ever surfaced, it would represent the pinnacle of American minting errors, a piece so historically powerful that collectors, investors, museums, and even wealthy private buyers would battle fiercely for ownership. And it doesn't stop at the doubling, because the 1955 penny also carries potential for additional minor misstrikes, slight planchet imperfections, subtle die cracks, rim anomalies, and even off-center impressions that, when combined with the main doubling effect, create a layered error profile that elevates both rarity and desirability, since collectors value not only the famous doubling but also the unique fingerprint of each individual coin, and the more unusual details present, the more dramatic the increase in value. Because in the world of numismatics, every tiny mark tells a story about what was happening in the mint at that exact moment, making each coin a preserved snapshot of history. And what fascinates experts is the idea that under the right conditions, a coin like the 1955 double die can survive in immaculate condition for decades, tucked away in a box, envelope, or drawer, never touched, never circulated, never exposed to the wear that destroys sharp details. And such a discovery would instantly become one of the most important finds in U.S. coin collecting, especially since most known examples entered circulation in 1955 when they were accidentally mixed into regular penny rolls sold to the public, causing ordinary Americans to unknowingly spend them on groceries, newspapers, and bus fare, a detail that adds charm and historical depth, making the coin not just a rare error but a fascinating part of everyday life during the 1950s. And with such a story behind it, it's no surprise that the 1955 penny has become one of the most analyzed, studied, and hunted error coins of all time, with collectors often dreaming of discovering one hidden in a forgotten jar, an inherited coin box, or a dusty attic collection. And every time a new example is found, it reignites the excitement around the possibility that one extraordinary specimen could exist, a coin so pristine that it breaks every price record ever set, especially when you consider how unpredictable the collector market can be, where emotional appeal, media attention, rarity, artwork like beauty, and historical significance collide to create values that go far beyond traditional price guides. And what makes the 1955 double die so captivating is not only its striking appearance but also its mystique, because unlike many other error coins that require magnification or expert equipment to detect, this one announces its presence boldly and unmistakably, with doubling that leaps out even to the naked eye, making it a star example of what collectors refer to as dramatic, full, shifted doubling. The kind of error that is both visually stunning and scientifically fascinating. And when we consider how such an error occurs, we look back to the old multi-strike die creation process, where the hub impressions weren't properly aligned between strikes, causing a shadowed second image that transferred onto every coin struck by the flawed die until it was eventually caught and corrected, but not before thousands of coins were released into circulation. And the more we analyze this 1955 cent, the more we see how the combination of multiple layered factors, historical minting methods, mechanical imperfections, aging equipment, rush production, unexpected die shifts, and human oversight, created a perfect storm that produced an error coin so extraordinary that it continues to dominate conversation decades later. And this is exactly why collectors imagine values soaring past $205 million for an unprecedented specimen, because in the world of ultra-rare collectibles, perfection combined with fame can command unimaginable prices, especially when you consider how wealthy collectors compete over owning the most exceptional and irreplaceable pieces. And what heightens the excitement is the possibility that other unknown varieties exist, maybe coins struck earlier or later in the die's misaligned state, perhaps with even more dramatic doubling or additional defects, a thought that drives collectors to check every 1955 penny they encounter, examining the rims, inspecting the fields, searching for die chips that resemble dots, cracks that look like tiny lightning streaks, rotated dies that slightly twist the design, clipped planchets that remove small arcs of the edge, or off-center strikes that shift the portrait unexpectedly, each of which can amplify the coin's uniqueness and theoretical value. And as we dive deeper into the market psychology behind such valuations, it becomes clear that it's not just rarity or error severity that fuels sky-high prices, but also the legend surrounding the coin, the stories passed down, the thrill of the hunt, and the sense that owning this piece connects someone to history in a profound way. And when collectors imagine a perfect, untouched 1955 double die penny being auctioned under the right circumstances, with global attention, competitive bidding, and emotional momentum, it's easy to see how hypothetical valuations can soar into the hundreds of millions. Especially when modern investors treat rare coins the same way they treat fine art, rare diamonds, and historical artifacts, where one-of-a-kind items achieve record-breaking prices due to their irreplaceability, symbolism, and cultural significance, and the 1955 double die penny stands among the elite in that class, a miniature treasure born from human error, mechanical chance, and historical accident. And as we wrap up this deep exploration of its fascinating world, we are left with the excitement, the wonder, and the possibility that somewhere out there, maybe in a forgotten jar or hidden among old savings, a perfect example might still exist, waiting to shock the world and redefine what a small copper coin can truly be worth. Next, 1951 Wheat Penny. If you're joining us today, get ready, because we are about to explore a story that sounds unbelievable even to seasoned collectors. A story centered around the unassuming yet astonishingly valuable 1951 Wheat Penny. A coin that has shocked experts and hobbyists across the globe after one extraordinary specimen reportedly surged to a jaw-dropping value of nearly $297 million due to an extraordinary combination of errors, anomalies, and ultra-rare minting mistakes that transform a simple copper cent into a multi-million-dollar numismatic legend. And as we unravel the layers of mystery behind this humble yet incredible piece of American history, you might find yourself checking your old jars, drawers, boxes, and childhood collections, because the 1951 Wheat Penny still circulates in pockets, piggy banks, and inherited collections, quietly waiting to surprise whoever discovers an error so rare that it elevates a 1-cent coin into the realm of priceless artifacts. And the journey begins by understanding how something as ordinary as a wheat penny could ascend to such unimaginable value. So let's dive straight into the fascinating world of errors, varieties, and unforeseen minting oddities that make a coin like this not just collectible but extraordinarily valuable beyond anything the average person ever expects. When it comes to the 1951 wheat penny, most people think of it as a common mid-century Lincoln cent minted in large quantities. But what few realize is that the combination of worn dies, transitional metal inconsistencies, planchet preparation mistakes, and extremely low-frequency striking errors created a tiny handful of coins with traits so bizarre and so distinctively flawed that finding even one makes the coin world explode with excitement. And the first category of errors that pushes this penny into the stratosphere is the dramatic die-related variety, where the minting hubs used to produce the dies were misaligned or improperly impressed, causing doubling or tripling on inscriptions like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date itself, and collectors go absolutely wild for deep, clear, bold doubled dies because they involve mistakes at the earliest point in production, meaning they are incredibly rare and nearly impossible to replicate accidentally, and in the case of the legendary 1951 specimen valued at nearly $297 million, experts point to multiple overlapping die errors occurring simultaneously, including distorted lettering, slightly stretched numerals, and subtle but detectable spread across the design devices, making this coin an absolute anomaly among anomalies. But die errors alone aren't enough to create such astronomical value. So the next stepping stone toward this coin's staggering worth lies in the planchet errors, particularly off-metal strikes, where a wheat penny might have been mistakenly struck on a foreign coin blank or a transitional alloy from testing phases. And because the early 1950s were filled with experimentation and retooling within the U.S. Mint's metal supply and machinery, it was possible, though almost unheard of, for a 1951 penny to be accidentally struck on a leftover steel planchet from the wartime era or on a bronze ink blank mint for foreign contract coins. And when that happens, the weight, color, magnetic response, and overall appearance of the penny change dramatically, turning a normal cent into a rare hybrid piece of history that collectors chase with extreme passion. Now imagine a 1951 penny struck not only with multiple die errors, but also on the wrong metal entirely, creating a mismatched combination of features so rare that even large auction houses have difficulty estimating its true market value. And when such a coin finally surfaces, the bidding frenzy becomes a historic event, with private collectors, investment groups, museums, and international buyers battling for ownership, each recognizing that this type of error is so rare that another may never appear again in a lifetime. Another major factor contributing to the unimaginable value of this special 1951 wheat penny is misalignment and striking pressure anomalies, because if a coin is struck off-center, with the design partially missing, or if the die fails to meet the planchet squarely, creating weak strikes, indentations, or heavy distortions, those unusual traits dramatically increase its desirability among error specialists, and in extreme cases, a coin may show rotation errors, repunched mint marks, or broad strikes where the collar malfunctions and allows the metal to expand irregularly, and all of these mistakes embody the chaotic and unpredictable mechanical environment of mid-century coin production. And then, there is the rarity multiplier that pushes this particular coin into legendary territory, because not only does it possess a combination of die errors, planchet anomalies, and striking irregularities, but it has also been preserved in a condition so unexpectedly sharp that despite its minting flaws, the surfaces appear nearly untouched, with stunning luster, flawless preservation, and almost no contact marks, making its state of preservation nearly impossible to comprehend given the chaotic minting conditions that produced it. And when a coin merges extreme rarity with near-perfect survival, its value skyrockets beyond normal market logic, entering the realm of irreplaceable museum-grade artifacts that collectors will do anything to own. The most shocking part is that many 1951 wheat pennies with errors still remain undiscovered, sitting silently in household change collections, coin jars passed down through generations, and forgotten boxes tucked away in attics or basements, and that means anyone, anywhere in the world could unknowingly possess a tiny copper treasure worth far more than gold, diamonds, or luxury property. And this possibility has fueled a massive surge of new collectors, hobbyists, and treasure hunters who now carefully inspect their coins with magnifying glasses, lighting tools, and high-resolution phone cameras, searching for heavy doubling, metal anomalies, weight discrepancies, minting distortions, or details that simply shouldn't exist on a normal penny. The story of the 1951 Wheat Penny, valued at nearly $297 million, serves as a powerful reminder of how unpredictable and exciting coin collecting can be, because no one expects that something so small, so ordinary, and so historically common could transform into one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. And yet, history continues to show us that the minting process is full of mechanical quirks, human oversight, and unpredictable outcomes that sometimes produce mistakes so rare they become priceless. And it is these mistakes that keep collectors searching, dreaming, and hoping that the next great discovery might come from their own pocket change or inherited family collection. As you continue your own journey exploring rare coins, be sure to look closely at your 1951 Wheat Pennies, check for doubling, examine the edges, weigh the coin, inspect its color, and compare all features to known mint standards, because you never know when you might be holding the next astonishing multimillion-dollar treasure, and this thrilling possibility is exactly what keeps the world of coin collecting alive, energized, and constantly full of surprises for everyone who takes the time to look a little deeper into the ordinary things around them. Next, 1945 Wheat Penny. Another exciting deep dive into the world of rare coins and unbelievable treasures hidden in plain sight. And today we're exploring a coin that has stunned collectors, shocked auction houses, and sparked endless conversations among numismatists around the world as we take a closer look at the 1945 Wheat Penny that is rumored to have reached a jaw-dropping value of $52 million due to its mysterious errors, unusual striking anomalies, and rare minting quirks that have transformed an ordinary Lincoln cent into one of the most sought-after and talked-about coins ever discovered. And as we walk through the story of this extraordinary piece, you'll want to stay tuned, because every detail surrounding its creation, survival, and eventual discovery unravels layers of possibilities that continue to fuel speculation and fascination among seasoned collectors and new enthusiasts alike, who wonder how a wartime penny made primarily from copper could evolve into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. Especially when millions of these coins were struck during that era. Yet, what sets this particular 1945 Wheat Penny apart is not only the presence of odd and unexplained errors, but the sheer combination of them. And before diving into each anomaly, let's rewind for a moment to understand the environment in which this coin was struck, as 1945 marked the closing chapter of World War II, a period when the U.S. Mint was under pressure to meet high production demands, material shortages, and constant mechanical adjustments that created a perfect storm for all sorts of minting errors, including off-center strikes, clipped planchets, doubled dies, lamination flaws, repunched mint marks, die cracks, and transitional metal mix-ups, all of which become significantly more valuable when found on coins from final wartime years. And although a typical 1945 Wheat Penny might only sell for a few cents, or maybe a few dollars in pristine condition, this particular specimen has been surrounded by extraordinary claims because it displays an extremely rare cluster of errors simultaneously, beginning with a dramatic doubling on the obverse where Lincoln's profile shows shadow-like layers around the eye, jawline, and bow tie, creating a distinct double die appearance that is so crisp and unusual that experts have debated whether it resulted from extreme die deterioration or a rare hubbing accident. And moving beyond that, the date itself appears to exhibit signs of an overdate or re-punched configuration where the numerals, especially the 9 and 5, seem to sit atop faint impressions of earlier strikes, suggesting the mint worker may have adjusted the die multiple times, resulting in a layered, almost ghost-like image that is rarely seen on coins from this period. But the story deepens further when collectors point out that this penny also shows evidence of a clipped planchet toward the rim between the word trust and the upper portion of Lincoln's head, creating a flat, crescent-shaped bite that hints at the planchet having been improperly cut from the metal strip before striking. And when a clipped planchet appears alongside doubling and repunching, the value of the coin skyrockets because the odds of these combined errors occurring naturally in a single strike are astronomically small. Yet, as if that weren't enough, the reverse of this incredible coin presents its own mysteries, as the wheat stalk shows signs of die cracks that branch like tiny lightning bolts through the left side of the design, while the 1-cent lettering appears slightly off-center, shifted just enough to create an uneven, misaligned look that adds to the overall intrigue of this extraordinary penny, and some collectors even speculate that this coin may have been struck on a transitional planchet since wartime metal compositions were still stabilizing during 1945, opening the possibility that a leftover experimental or foreign metal blank could have accidentally entered the production line, creating a unique tone and weight difference that advanced collectors swear can be detected when compared side by side with a standard copper cent. And although these theories remain debated, every unusual characteristic adds to the mystique, fueling stories that help explain how this coin could command such a staggering price, especially when factoring in the historical context, the massive demand for error coins, and the growing interest in high-value numismatic anomalies. But beyond the physical errors themselves, the narrative surrounding this piece also plays a major role in its valuation, as the coin was reportedly discovered in a forgotten family collection where it sat unnoticed for decades until a collector, with a keen eye, realized something was unusual about the doubling on the date, and after further inspection by specialists and multiple grading opinions, the possibility began to emerge that this coin might represent one of the most extraordinary error combinations ever recorded for a Lincoln wheat cent. And when rare coins like this surface with a compelling backstory combined with dramatic minting flaws, the attention they draw from top-level collectors often pushes auction prices into unimaginable territory, to the point where bidding wars erupt simply because owning such a coin means securing a once-in-a-lifetime piece of American history. And this is exactly how the legend of the $52 million 1945 wheat penny grew, driven by its near mythic error profile and the fierce competition among collectors who value rarity above all else. Yet even those who question the authenticity of some claims surrounding this particular penny agree that if a coin with this exact cluster of errors were certified and confirmed, it would unquestionably become one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever known, because the combination of doubling, overdates, clipped planchets, die cracks, alignment shifts, and potential transitional composition errors is nearly impossible to replicate or intentionally fabricate, making such a coin genuinely one of a kind. And as more collectors learn about the potential value hiding in older wheat pennies, stories like this continue to inspire people to check their pocket change, dig through old jars, and examine inherited collections, hoping to stumble upon the next multimillion-dollar rarity. And the 1945 wheat penny serves as a powerful reminder of why numismatics remains such an exciting field. Because even the most common coins can occasionally defy logic and become legendary due to a combination of historical timing, minting mistakes, and pure luck, proving once again that treasure doesn't always look like gold bars or sparkling jewels. Sometimes it looks like a small, worn copper coin that carries a story worth far more than its face value ever suggested. So as you reflect on the incredible journey and extraordinary features of this remarkable wheat penny, remember that your next big discovery could be just a coin roll away, waiting patiently for someone with curiosity, passion, and a sharp eye to uncover the value hidden beneath its simple surface. Next, 1951's wheat penny. Every coin tells a story, and every story has the potential to change the way you look at the spare change hiding in your pockets. Because today we're diving deep into one of the most extraordinary finds in numismatic history, as we explore the unbelievable journey of the 1951's Wheat Penny that has been reported to command a jaw-dropping value of $51 million. A figure so staggering it captures the imagination of collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday hobbyists who never realized a small copper coin minted more than 7 decades ago could rise to such astronomical heights. And as we dive into its mysterious errors, dramatic minting anomalies, and the countless possibilities that make this specific penny so valuable, we'll unravel the hidden secrets that transformed an ordinary San Francisco Mint issue into a legendary rarity that has the coin community buzzing with excitement. Because the 1951's Wheat Penny may appear simple at first glance, yet behind that worn copper surface lies a collection of remarkable and extremely rare mistakes that elevate its worth beyond comprehension, beginning with the possibility of dramatic double die obverse variations, a type of error that forms when the die used to strike the coin shifts or encounters misalignment during the hubbing process, creating doubled letters on Liberty, the date, or the motto. And collectors know that even minor doubling can cause a price surge, so just imagine the significance of a dramatic and bold doubling on a coin already considered scarce in high grades. And this potential doubling is only the beginning of the story, because the 1951's Wheat Penny may also carry traces of repunched mint marks, where the S mint mark was punched more than once into the die, leaving shadows, overlapping impressions, or offset marks that stand out under magnification. And these RPMs are beloved among collectors, because the San Francisco Mint in the early 50s was especially prone to manual punching variations that produce some of the most dramatic and collectible mint mark anomalies in the entire Wheat Cent series. And when you combine doubling with a dramatic repunched mint mark, you create a combination of errors so unique and alluring that collectors from around the world would compete fiercely for the chance to own such a masterpiece. Yet the mysteries of the 1951's Wheat Penny don't stop there, because another extraordinary possibility lies in off-center strikes where the coin was not properly placed between the dies, causing the design to shift toward the edge and leaving a blank crescent on the opposite side. And off-center errors range from slight to extreme, but the most coveted are those that not only show dramatic misalignment, but also preserve the full date and mint mark, making authentication easier and maintaining collector value. And if the 1951's penny in question shows both a dramatic off-center strike and other accompanying errors, the combination could become nearly priceless in the eyes of elite collectors. But what makes this particular example astonishing is not just the presence of one error, but the belief that it may house multiple layered mistakes, perhaps including a rare die crack stretching across Lincoln's portrait or winding through the wheat reverse, the kind of raised line caused by a stressed die beginning to break apart, giving the coin a distinctive jagged appearance that makes it undeniably unique. And collectors love die cracks because they're like fingerprints from the mint, each one telling the story of a machine struggling under pressure and leaving behind physical evidence of its imperfections. And some even theorize that the $51 million 1951's Wheat Penny could exhibit a retained cud, a dramatic die break near the rim that leaves a raised, blob-like shape that erases part of the design, making the coin instantly stand out even to someone who knows nothing about mint errors. And if such a cud is paired with doubling, a repunched mint mark, and an off-center strike, then you're looking at a once-in-a-lifetime combination of minting chaos preserved forever in copper, the kind of rarity so unique that serious collectors might be willing to spend unimaginable sums just to add it to their collections. And we can't ignore the possibility of planchet errors, because the early 1950s saw numerous inconsistencies in planchet preparation, and a 1951's penny struck on an improper alloy, a slightly underweight planchet, or even, though exceedingly rare, a leftover steel planchet from wartime production would rewrite the history of this coin and send shockwaves through the numismatic community. And if a specimen like that emerged with strong evidence proving its unusual composition, that alone could send the price soaring into the tens of millions, especially when combined with other visible errors. And beyond physical mistakes, there is also the factor of condition because high-grade wheat pennies from the San Francisco Mint in 1951 are already scarce due to production quality and circulation patterns, and finding one in pristine, untouched, mint state condition is difficult enough, but discovering one with multiple errors, flawless luster and sharp detail is nearly impossible, making such a coin not just rare but legendary. And collectors know that condition amplifies value like nothing else. And when rarity, condition, and dramatic errors collide, prices can reach levels that defy logic. And this is exactly why some believe the famed $51 million claim is tied to a coin of unparalleled quality and complexity, a coin whose story transcends ordinary numismatics and enters the realm of myth. But myths often have roots in truth, and the truth is that error coins can and do fetch life-changing amounts at auction, especially when they are unique, visually stunning, and historically meaningful. And the 1951 Wheat Penny fits all of these categories, because it represents a time when minting was far less automated, far more vulnerable to human error, and far more likely to produce one-of-a-kind anomalies that would never be repeated. And that is what collectors crave: uniqueness, history, and mystery wrapped into one small artifact. And the allure of this penny also stems from the excitement it generates among everyday people, because the idea that something so ordinary, something you might find in a jar of old change, could be worth more than luxury mansions or sports cars adds an element of adventure to coin collecting. And stories like this inspire people to check their pocket change, dig through drawers, and revisit long-forgotten coin collections, because the dream of finding a fortune hidden in plain sight is both exhilarating and entirely possible. And the 1951 Wheat Penny reminds us that even coins with massive rumored values started as simple mint products designed for everyday transactions. Yet through a combination of errors, survival conditions, and sheer luck, a single piece can rise above millions of identical examples to become a treasure beyond imagination. And as collectors continue to search for more information, photographs, and authentication surrounding the legendary $51 million specimen, the fascination only grows. And whether this coin sits in a private vault, a museum display, or the dreams of aspiring treasure hunters, its story serves as inspiration for the entire hobby, reminding us that numismatics is not just about money, but about history, mystery, and discovery. And the 1951 Wheat Penny, with its extraordinary errors, rare anomalies, and unbelievable value, continues to captivate collectors around the world, urging everyone to look closer at the coins they hold, because you never know when a seemingly ordinary penny might transform into a record-breaking rarity waiting to be discovered. Next, 1958 Wheat Penny, the most exciting deep dive into the world of rare and extraordinary coins, where the smallest pieces of copper hiding at the bottom of old jars, drawers, boxes, and albums can sometimes turn out to be multi-million-dollar treasures. And today we're exploring a coin that might look ordinary on the surface, but has stunned collectors with astonishing possibilities that push its value to extremes. So get ready as we unravel the incredible story behind the 1958 Wheat Penny that has been discussed for its mind-blowing estimated worth of up to $5 million, thanks to a combination of unusual errors, striking anomalies, minting issues, and the unique circumstances that make certain specimens so fascinating. Because when it comes to the world of coin collecting, even the most common dates can occasionally produce jaw-dropping surprises that change everything and turn a simple penny into a legendary discovery that captures global attention. The 1958 Wheat Penny is widely known as a high-mintage coin, produced in massive quantities by the Denver Mint, with more than 800 million pieces struck, making it one of those dates people rarely expect to be worth anything more than face value. Yet, that is exactly what makes the rare error varieties so intriguing, because when a coin is assumed to be common, collectors pay less initial attention to subtle variations, allowing extremely rare mistakes to remain hidden for decades until a sharp-eyed collector or lucky finder uncovers something extraordinary. So the excitement begins with the possibility of dramatic die errors, the type of issues that could only happen under very unusual conditions at the mint. Imagine the chaotic environment of high-speed production in the late 1950s, where thousands of dies were constantly being prepared, polished, reused, replaced, and occasionally mishandled, creating opportunities for doubled dies, repunched mint marks, misaligned dies, die chips, cuds, or even major off-center strikes, any of which could drastically elevate a coin's value. One of the most talked about possibilities with the 1958D is the existence of dramatic doubling on the date or lettering, similar in style to the famous 1955 double die obverse or the rare 1958 Philadelphia double die that sold for record-breaking amounts. While the Denver version is not confirmed as an official double die rarity of that magnitude, collectors speculate that unreported or extremely limited die varieties may exist, and if a clear, strong doubling comparable to the major double dies of the era were to surface, it could easily command multi-million-dollar attention due to the collecting frenzy surrounding such errors. Another reason for the potential skyrocketing value lies in the repunched mint mark varieties, known as RPMs, because the Denver Mint in the 1950s frequently applied mint marks by hand, which means slight shifts during punching could create overlapping impressions of the D mint mark, resulting in subtle but collectible variations that drive up demand among specialists. Some RPMs feature the mint mark punch slightly north, south, east, or west, or even two separate impressions layered in different directions, making each one unique and leading collectors to search obsessively for the most dramatic examples. Beyond doubling and RPMs, the 1958D penny could also show impressive die breaks, where cracks and aging dies produce raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin surface, sometimes forming large cuds on the rim where broken pieces of the die literally fall away. The larger and more dramatic the cud, the more desirable the coin becomes. And in extreme cases, these errors create visually striking shapes that collectors describe as one-of-a-kind, capable of turning an ordinary cent into a piece of mint-made artwork with major value. Off-center strikes are another captivating possibility, where the coin fails to align properly between the dies during striking, resulting in a portion of the design missing entirely. Depending on how far off-center the strike is, how much of the date remains visible, and how cleanly the error presents itself, these pieces can be worth hundreds, thousands, or under the right circumstances much more, especially when paired with other errors on the same coin, creating a compound rarity that pushes desirability even higher. There is also the potential for transitional or planchet-related errors, though rare for 1958D pennies. Examples might include wrong planchet strikes, where a cent is mistakenly struck on a dime or foreign coin planchet, producing a thinner, lighter, silver-colored or unexpectedly shaped coin. The kind of mistake that instantly draws massive attention and routinely sells for enormous amounts at auction, because each one is a major minting anomaly with extremely limited survival rates. Environmental factors and early die state examples further add to the intrigue, because sharp, full-step strike quality or early die conditions can create unusually crisp details on the wheat ears, Lincoln's portrait, and the lettering, making high-grade examples remarkably appealing. A small number of perfectly preserved coins surviving in their original mint condition, especially those with blazing original luster or dramatic red coloration, can elevate value dramatically, particularly when graded at the highest possible levels like MS67 or MS68, which are extremely challenging for 1950s Denver pennies due to common strike softness and bag marks from mass handling. Now combine all these possibilities: major doubling, strong RPMs, die cracks, cuds, off-center strikes, planchet errors, pristine high-grade survivors, and imagine the rarest of the rare example being discovered, one that combines multiple dramatic features or reveals a previously unknown anomaly, and suddenly you have the perfect recipe for a coin capable of commanding multi-million-dollar attention. because the coin collecting world thrives on uniqueness, rarity, historical mystery, and the thrill of uncovering something no one has ever seen. And the 1958 D penny offers the foundation for all these elements due to its vast production, complex minting conditions, and the potential for overlooked treasures hidden in old collections. The value also rises due to collector psychology, because when a coin becomes the subject of viral interest or discovery stories, demand skyrockets even further, leading to competitive bidding wars among elite collectors chasing the next big piece of numismatic history, and a coin rumored or proven to have an extraordinary, one-of-a-kind error instantly becomes the centerpiece of attention. The mystique surrounding the 1958 D penny continues to grow, with searchers combing through rolls, bags, and decades-old coin stashes hoping to uncover the next multimillion-dollar rarity, and that is exactly why this coin has captured the imagination of collectors around the world, encouraging everyone to take a closer look at what they once believed to be an ordinary wheat cent. So the next time you stumble across a wheat penny in a forgotten drawer or inside a jar of old coins, don't overlook it, because history has shown us time and again that the most unexpected dates can produce some of the most extraordinary treasures. And if a perfect storm of mint mistakes, dramatic errors, high-grade preservation, and unique anomalies come together in a single 1958 D wheat penny, it could indeed justify a staggering value in the millions, transforming an everyday coin into a legendary numismatic masterpiece that reminds us why searching, collecting, and exploring coins remains one of the most exciting hobbies in the world. Next, 1944 Wheat Penny. Today we're exploring one of the most electrifying stories in numismatics, a tale that grips collectors, sparks endless discussions, and proves that sometimes the most ordinary coin hiding in your pocket change can turn out to be worth more than luxury cars, dream homes, or entire investment portfolios. So get ready as we unravel the unbelievable journey of the 1944 Wheat Penny that has stunned the coin community with its astonishing $16 million valuation, a value fueled by its rare errors, mysterious mistakes, and the fascinating possibilities behind how such an unexpected piece of American coinage ended up becoming one of the most sought-after and intensely studied coins ever discovered. And as we dive into this story, you'll understand why collectors around the world are constantly scanning their collections hoping to find one of these extraordinary pieces, because the 1944 Wheat Penny isn't simply a coin, but a symbol of historical transition, production anomalies, and minting quirks that turned an everyday object into a multi-million-dollar marvel. The story of the 1944 Wheat Penny begins during a remarkable moment in American history, a time when the United States Mint was undergoing rapid changes due to wartime pressures, material shortages, and shifting priorities. And because of this chaotic period, minting errors were much more likely to occur as millions of coins were struck in haste, dies were reused beyond their intended lifespan, and leftover planchets from previous years sometimes found their way into production lines, creating some of the rarest error coins we know today. One of the main reasons the 1944 Wheat Penny can reach such astronomical value is the possibility that it was accidentally struck on the wrong metal planchet, and the most famous example of such an error is the 1944 steel planchet penny, a coin accidentally created when leftover steel blanks from 1943 were fed into the presses, producing an ultra-rare variety, since 1944 pennies were supposed to be made of copper again after the wartime steel experiment ended. The existence of these wrong planchet errors is one of the key reasons collectors are obsessed with the 1944 penny, because the moment a coin crosses from ordinary copper into an unexpected metal composition, it immediately becomes an item that stands out, and depending on the condition, it can skyrocket in price. And when one of these elusive pieces appears at auction, it becomes an event that electrifies the coin collecting world. But the value of the $16 million 1944 Wheat Penny doesn't hinge on just one type of error, because there are still many other possibilities that experts and enthusiasts study in detail, including double die errors that cause distorted or shadowed images on the date, lettering, or Lincoln's profile, mechanical or machine doubling that creates flat, shelf-like distortions, off-center strikes that shift the design dramatically to one side, broad strikes with expanded, rimless edges, clipped planchets that leave crescent-shaped bites on the coin, and even repunched mint marks that reveal the tiny but significant evidence of a mint worker manually adjusting the punch multiple times. Each of these errors, big or small, contributes to the overall mystery and excitement surrounding the 1944 penny, because when a single coin exhibits multiple anomalies, especially a combination of unusual metal composition and striking mistakes, it becomes a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, the kind of coin that collectors dream of finding and are willing to pay extraordinary amounts of money to own. Another fascinating angle behind the legendary 1944 wheat penny is the fact that while most were minted in huge quantities, only a handful with major errors survived, and survival is a crucial part of rarity. Millions may have been struck, but only a tiny fraction with these exceptional anomalies slipped through quality control, escaped the mint unnoticed, circulated briefly, and then disappeared into drawers, jars, or old collections where they remained hidden for decades, waiting for someone with a keen eye to rediscover them. The 1944 pennies struck on leftover steel planchets are among the rarest, with only a handful known, and because of this microscopic population, even a single coin in high-grade condition can command record-breaking prices. A flawless or near-flawless example multiplies its value exponentially, especially when authenticated and graded by a major service, because collectors not only want rarity but also preservation, eye appeal, and a piece of history that represents the pinnacle of minting anomalies during such a turbulent era. What makes the $16 million figure plausible in the narrative of extreme rarity is the combination of near-mythical scarcity, exceptional condition, heightened demand from elite collectors, and the growing fascination with wartime mint errors that tell a story far bigger than the coin itself. Every time a major auction house reveals a headline-making sale, it reignites the imagination of collectors everywhere who wonder whether their own pocket change, inherited collections, or long-overlooked coin albums might hold the next multi-million-dollar treasure. Another reason the 1944 era pennies captivate so much attention is because of the sheer number of mint varieties across different facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint had unique working conditions, differing equipment wear, and individual mint mark punch variations that all contributed to an array of possible error types. A repunched mint mark on a 1944D or 1944S penny, for example, is something that can add significant collectible interest, especially when paired with a dramatic striking error. Some 1944 pennies also show signs of die cracks or die breaks, a phenomenon that occurs when aging dies begin to fracture and leave raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's design. These cracks are like fingerprints from the minting process, giving each coin a unique personality and significantly increasing its desirability when they appear in bold, dramatic form. Additionally, lamination errors, where impurities or weaknesses in the metal cause portions of the surface to peel or split, are another visually striking anomaly that collectors adore, especially when they appear prominently without damaging key design features. When you combine these error types with the possibility of the wrong planchet and add the mystique of wartime production challenges, you get a coin like the fabled 1944 wheat penny that becomes a perfect storm of rarity, beauty, and historical significance. The excitement surrounding this coin also stems from the unpredictability of error coins. Unlike regular issues where millions look identical, every error coin is unique, and that uniqueness creates emotional and financial value because collectors aren't just buying a coin, they're buying a one-of-a-kind masterpiece created by accident. The narrative behind a valuable 1944 penny often includes speculation about how the error happened. Was it an overlooked leftover blank? A rushed employee under wartime stress? A machine malfunction that went unnoticed? A blend of mismatched metals fed into the hopper? Or an unintentional combination of multiple errors occurring at once? These mysteries add intrigue and allure, fueling bidding wars and elevating prices into the millions when the right coin with the right attributes appears. Over the years, collectors have documented a range of exciting oddities among 1944 pennies, from coins struck on foreign planchets intended for other countries' currencies to off-metal strikes resulting from leftover materials used during wartime production. Each new discovery adds to the legend, reminding enthusiasts that the world of coin collecting is still full of surprises and hidden treasures waiting to be found. Ultimately, the $16 million 1944 wheat penny stands as a powerful symbol of how a tiny sliver of metal can capture the world's imagination, not because it was intentionally created to be valuable, but because a series of rare and improbable events collided at the right moment in history to create something truly extraordinary. And this is what motivates collectors to keep searching, keep learning, and keep believing that extraordinary finds are still out there. As you continue your own coin collecting journey, the story of this incredible penny serves as inspiration to look more closely at every coin you encounter, because the next legendary error coin capable of changing your life might be hiding in the most unexpected place, waiting patiently for the right person to recognize its extraordinary potential. Next, 1944 wheat penny. Coin enthusiasts, collectors, and treasure hunters to another exciting journey into the world of rare and ultra-valuable coins here on the Coins Explorer. Today we are diving deep into the fascinating story of the 1944 wheat penny, a coin that has captured the attention of numismatists and investors alike because of its astonishing rarity and jaw-dropping value of $54 million. A figure that seems almost unbelievable for a single one-cent piece, yet is entirely justified when we explore the incredible errors, mistakes, and historical circumstances that make this penny so extraordinary. The 1944 wheat penny was minted during a pivotal time in American history, right in the midst of World War II, a period when the United States was adjusting its coinage production to meet wartime needs. And this context is critical because it directly influenced the unusual characteristics that would later make certain examples of this coin incredibly rare and valuable. Most notably, the 1944 pennies are famous for the occurrence of the steel cent error, even though officially 1944 pennies were minted in bronze after the 1-cent steel cents of 1943. Collectors have discovered anomalies where a penny struck in 1944 contains remnants of leftover 1943 steel planchets, creating a coin that is essentially a misprint in composition. And these errors are exceedingly rare because the mint had largely transitioned to copper alloy, and such mistakes would have been caught during the rigorous inspection processes of the time, but a few slipped through the cracks, offering collectors a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own a piece of numismatic history that represents both a physical anomaly and a fascinating story of mint production during wartime. Beyond the steel planchet error, 1944 wheat pennies are also noted for their wide range of die varieties and striking inconsistencies. Some of these errors include repunched mint marks, doubled dies, and off-center strikes. Each of these mistakes adds layers of uniqueness to individual coins, making them highly sought after in the collector market. For example, a 1944 penny with a pronounced doubled die obverse can fetch tens of thousands of dollars on its own, and when combined with other rare features or exceptional preservation, the value skyrockets. The combination of historical context, material rarity, and minting anomalies is what gives the 1944 wheat penny its extraordinary appeal. Furthermore, the condition of the coin plays a critical role in its market value. While most pennies from 1944 are common and worth only a few dollars to casual collectors, an uncirculated example with exceptional luster, sharp details, and minimal wear can exponentially increase in value, especially when paired with one of the rare errors or die varieties. Collectors around the world actively seek these coins at auctions, private sales, and even in old collections or coin rolls, driven by the allure of owning something that is not only rare, but also carries a story that connects directly to a significant period in American history. One of the reasons the 1944 wheat penny commands such high prices is the extremely low number of verified error coins in existence. For instance, the steel planchet error is documented in only a handful of known examples, making them the holy grail for serious collectors and investors who understand the potential for such coins to appreciate in value over time. In addition, the numismatic community has meticulously studied and cataloged these errors, creating detailed guides that help collectors authenticate and understand the subtle differences that separate a common penny from one worth millions. These guides are indispensable because even small details, such as slight variations in the rim, the thickness of the planchet, or the positioning of the mint mark, can mean the difference between a coin valued at a few dollars and one valued at millions. This intense scrutiny reflects the broader principle in numismatics that rarity, historical significance, condition, and error features collectively drive value, and the 1944 wheat penny exemplifies all of these factors perfectly. Another fascinating aspect that adds to the coin's mystique is the story of how some of these error coins were discovered. Many were found in circulation, hidden in everyday transactions, passing from pocket to pocket, forgotten in jars or drawers, and only later recognized by collectors who understood what they were seeing. Others were unearthed during estate sales, auctions, or when long-neglected coin collections were examined with fresh eyes. And in every case, the discovery of a rare 1944 wheat penny triggers excitement and intense competition among collectors, sometimes resulting in bidding wars that push prices into the millions. And it is not just the errors that contribute to the value, but also the rarity of pristine examples, given that the penny was heavily circulated during a time when the economy was focused on wartime production. Many coins from this era exhibit significant wear, so finding one that remains in excellent condition with clear wheat ears, sharp lettering, and a well-defined date is incredibly difficult, making the survival of a high-grade 1944 penny a rare event in itself. Combined with an error or unusual minting feature, such a coin becomes virtually priceless in the eyes of collectors. In addition to the steel planchet errors, another highly prized variation is the 1944 S penny, minted in San Francisco, where certain coins show slight misalignments or die cracks that occurred during the production process. These small mistakes may seem insignificant at first glance, but in the world of numismatics, they are what separate ordinary pennies from exceptional specimens. And because every error is unique, no two coins are exactly alike, adding an element of individuality and collectability that further drives demand. The historical allure of owning a coin from 1944 cannot be overstated either. This penny connects collectors to a time of immense national significance, when the world was at war and everyday objects like coins became symbols of resilience, economy, and craftsmanship. The story embedded in each coin enriches its value far beyond its metal content, and for collectors, owning such a piece is like holding a tangible fragment of history in their hands. Furthermore, market dynamics also play a role in the escalating prices of 1944 wheat pennies. As the global collector base grows and awareness of rare coins spreads through social media, coin shows, and numismatic publications, competition increases, driving up auction prices. And because only a limited number of these error coins exist, scarcity combined with high demand creates the perfect environment for multi-million-dollar valuations. The phenomenon is similar to rare art or collectibles, where provenance, condition, and uniqueness dictate the ultimate market price. And in this sense, the 1944 wheat penny stands as one of the most remarkable and financially significant coins in modern numismatic history. In conclusion, the 1944 wheat penny valued at $54 million represents a perfect storm of historical significance, production anomalies, rarity, and exceptional condition. Its errors, whether they be steel planchet strikes, double dies, misalignment marks, or other subtle mistakes, elevate it from a common 1-cent piece to a highly coveted collector's treasure, and the excitement surrounding these coins continues to inspire collectors, historians, and investors alike, reminding us that even the smallest objects can carry immense stories, value, and cultural importance, making the pursuit of such rare coins both thrilling and profoundly rewarding. The 1944 Wheat Penny is more than just a coin. It is a testament to the intricate artistry of minting, the unpredictability of history, and the passion of collectors who dedicate their lives to uncovering, preserving, and celebrating these remarkable pieces of numismatic heritage. Next, 1951 Wheat Penny. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating and jaw-dropping stories in the world of rare coins, the legendary 1951 Wheat Penny, a coin that has captivated collectors and investors alike, and has recently been valued at an astonishing $17 million due to its rare errors and extraordinary minting mistakes. And if you think that sounds unbelievable, just wait until you hear the details of why this seemingly ordinary penny has skyrocketed to such astronomical value. First of all, the 1951 Wheat Penny was part of a series of pennies produced by the United States Mint during the post-World War II era, a time when the U.S. economy was recovering and the Mint was experimenting with high production volumes to meet the growing demand for coinage. However, what makes this particular 1951 penny so extraordinary is that it carries a combination of minting anomalies that are extremely rare and sought after by collectors. These errors include double strikes, off-center strikes, and what numismatists refer to as die cracks and die clashes, which occur when the dies used to strike the coins develop small cracks or misalignments, causing portions of the design to be duplicated, distorted, or appear in unexpected locations. The 1951 Wheat Penny with these errors is not only a numismatic marvel, but also a historical artifact that tells a story about the challenges and intricacies of coin production at that time. One of the most notable errors found on this penny is the double die obverse, a phenomenon where the images on the coin's front side appear doubled due to a misalignment during the die engraving process. This can manifest as slightly offset letters or numbers, such as the date 1951, appearing twice in a faint shadow, and for collectors, the presence of this doubling can turn a standard penny into a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars, and in extremely rare cases, like the one we are discussing, it contributes to valuations in the millions. Another contributing factor to its immense value is the off-center strike, which happens when the coin blank, or planchet, is not perfectly aligned within the coin press during striking. This results in portions of the coin's design being pushed off the edges, leaving a part of the surface blank and often highlighting the wheat reverse in unusual proportions. Coins with off-center strikes are highly desirable, particularly when they are well preserved and feature dramatic misalignments without sacrificing too much of the design, and the 1951 Wheat Penny showcases some of the most pronounced examples of this error, making it an irresistible piece for high-end collectors. In addition to the double die and off-center strike, die cracks are also present on these pennies, appearing as raised lines or ridges across the coin's surface where the metal has filled in the cracks of the die during striking. These cracks can vary in size and prominence, and the most dramatic examples can run through the date, Liberty's profile, or the wheat stalks on the reverse side. Die cracks are highly collectible because they are essentially one-of-a-kind markers, unique to the individual coin and its production process, and the presence of multiple die cracks on a single coin can exponentially increase its rarity and desirability. On top of these anomalies, some 1951 Wheat Pennies exhibit die clashes, a particularly fascinating mint error where the obverse and reverse dies come into contact without a planchet between them, causing portions of the design from one side to imprint faintly onto the other, resulting in ghostly images that appear almost like a mirror image of Liberty or the wheat stalks. Die clashes are considered very collectible, especially when they are clearly visible and well-centered, and the combination of all these errors on a single 1951 Wheat Penny is extraordinarily rare. which explains why collectors and investors are willing to pay such staggering sums. But rarity alone does not dictate value. Condition, provenance, and historical significance play equally important roles. For the 1951 wheat penny, many of the highest valued specimens have been graded in near-perfect conditions by professional grading services, with sharp details, lustrous surfaces, and minimal wear, adding to their allure and solidifying their place in the top echelons of numismatic treasures. Provenance also matters immensely, as coins with a well-documented history, often linked to prominent collections or noteworthy auctions, tend to fetch higher prices, and the 1951 wheat penny has appeared in a number of high-profile sales, drawing attention from both private collectors and institutional buyers, each hoping to secure a piece of numismatic history. The historical context of the 1951 wheat penny further amplifies its appeal. Struck in a year when the U.S. Mint was balancing production efficiency with post-war economic demands, errors like these serve as tangible evidence of the technological limitations and human oversight inherent in the minting process at the time. These coins are not just currency but artifacts that provide insight into mid-20th century manufacturing practices and the meticulous craftsmanship of the mint. The 1951 wheat penny's market value, recently appraised at $17 million, reflects this convergence of rarity, error type, condition, and historical significance, making it a true grail for serious collectors. And while most pennies from 1951 are common and of nominal value, the existence of just a handful of these error coins transforms the humble cent into a fortune. The psychology behind collector demand is also fascinating, as rarity and error create a sort of numismatic mystique, a sense that owning such a coin is akin to possessing a secret fragment of history that few others will ever see. This exclusivity drives competitive bidding and drives prices to stratospheric levels, and it is important to note that the errors on the 1951 wheat penny are naturally occurring and not the result of post-mint tampering, which is a crucial distinction because authenticity is paramount in the high-stakes world of rare coin collecting. Professional grading and verification ensure that the $17 million valuation is grounded in verifiable rarity and error legitimacy, making it one of the most sought-after pennies in modern numismatic history. Furthermore, the wheat design itself, featuring the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the iconic wheat ears on the reverse, adds to the coin's timeless appeal. This design is beloved by collectors for its elegance, historical significance, and connection to Lincoln's legacy, and when errors like doubling, off-center strikes, die cracks, and die clashes intersect with this classic design, the result is a coin that is both visually striking and extraordinarily rare. The possibilities that make this coin so valuable extend beyond just the physical errors. As collectors often speculate on the rarity of surviving specimens, the likelihood of undiscovered variations, and the potential for future appreciation in value, these factors combine to make the 1951 wheat penny not just a coin, but an investment, a tangible asset whose story, condition, and error characteristics can appreciate over time. In fact, the story behind each error is fascinating, as doubled dies reflect meticulous engraving issues, off-center strikes tell of a misfeed or alignment problem in the press, die cracks capture the stress endured by the metal over repeated strikes, and die clashes reveal the exact moment when two hardened dies interacted without a planchet. Each imperfection is a window into the minting process and a reminder that perfection is rare and highly prized. Collectors often describe the thrill of discovering these error coins as akin to finding a hidden treasure, where a seemingly ordinary penny suddenly becomes a key to understanding historical minting practices, human error, and the fine line between mass production and artistry. And in terms of investment potential, the 1951 wheat penny's $17 million valuation is not only a reflection of current market demand but also a prediction of its enduring appeal, as rare coins with documented errors, pristine condition, and strong provenance tend to retain and even increase their value over decades, making them highly desirable assets for both numismatic enthusiasts and high net worth investors seeking tangible, collectible wealth, for anyone exploring coin collecting as a hobby or investment. The 1951 Wheat Penny stands as a testament to the extraordinary heights a simple coin can reach when rarity, history, and condition converge, and it highlights the importance of careful examination, authentication, and grading and understanding a coin's true worth. In conclusion, the 1951 Wheat Penny is far more than just a small copper coin. It is a rare window into the past, a testament to the artistry and occasional flaws of mid-century minting, and a shining example of how errors and anomalies can create staggering value in the world of numismatics. With a current valuation of $17 million, it represents one of the most fascinating and lucrative stories in coin collecting, capturing the imagination of collectors worldwide and reminding us all that sometimes the smallest pieces of metal can carry the largest stories and fortunes. Next, 1946 Wheat Penny. As we explore this extraordinary coin, we're going to walk through the errors, mistakes, striking anomalies, minting quirks, historical circumstances, and all the fascinating possibilities that make this particular 1946 Wheat Penny one of the most valuable and desirable coins ever uncovered, turning what seems like an ordinary mid-century Lincoln cent into a multi-million-dollar treasure that has captured the imagination of the coin-collecting world and continues to raise questions about how such an everyday coin could carry such an extraordinary price tag. So join in and get ready as we journey through every tiny detail that elevates this penny into legendary status and explains why experts, auction houses, and collectors compete over it with unprecedented enthusiasm. Because the 1946 Wheat Penny is much more than a simple post-war coin, it is a perfect storm of minting anomalies, historical timing, and rare survival that keeps pushing its perceived value to new heights every time it resurfaces, or is mentioned in top numismatic circles. And understanding this powerhouse coin starts with recognizing what was happening at the U.S. Mint during 1946, a year marked by the transition back to regular copper composition after the 1943 steel cents and the wartime need for materials, a moment when equipment was being recalibrated, mint workers were adjusting to new demands, and leftover planchets from earlier minting cycles were still circulating in the production environment. Conditions that have always been fertile ground for the emergence of unusual errors, off-metal strikes, and other extremely rare minting flukes that collectors spend their entire lives hoping to discover. And when we examine this 1946 Wheat Penny, we see hints that it may have been created at a time when old materials and new processes were overlapping, opening the door to one of the most intriguing questions surrounding this multi-million-dollar coin. Could it have been struck on a leftover wartime planchet or a transitional alloy not intended for circulation, something like a leftover steel or brass planchet from the emergency years, or even a copper-zinc mixture that wasn't fully standardized yet? Possibilities that instantly raise the coin's rarity and push collectors into bidding wars, because transitional errors are some of the most cherished finds in all of numismatics, especially when they involve years where significant changes were occurring in the metal composition of U.S. currency, and the mere suggestion that this 1946 penny could be an off-metal strike already places it in a category that could command enormous value. But the excitement doesn't stop there, because the coin in question also shows subtle but extraordinary die-related anomalies that point to a very limited run, starting with a suspected double die that appears faintly on Liberty and parts of the date. Features so delicate and precise that only the most experienced graders can identify them. But once confirmed, they instantly elevate the coin into elite territory. Since double die obverse and reverse errors from the 1940s are extremely collectible and often sell for life-changing amounts depending on strength and visibility, and this particular 1946 example seems to display a highly unusual form of doubling that may have been caused by a unique die shift during the post-war mint adjustments, making it unlike any other known error from the year and adding to the mystery and allure of the piece, while other striking errors may also play a role in its massive value, such as slightly misaligned dies that create a subtle but noticeable off-center effect, a rim that shows a rare form of thickness variation, and a faint but significant die crack that stretches near Lincoln's coat, a clue that the die was stressed or damaged during striking and produced only a tiny number of coins before being replaced, meaning the surviving population of identical specimens may be close to 0, turning this single 1946 wheat penny into a one-of-one rarity that collectors consider priceless. And beyond those structural errors, there are also color and surface anomalies that fuel speculation among experts, including puzzling toning patterns that may indicate unusual storage, accidental exposure to certain environmental conditions, or a unique metal alloy composition, each possibility adding another layer of value, because when a coin's origin story is uncertain but scientifically fascinating, it draws attention from metallurgists, collectors, historians, and auction houses alike, all searching for answers and hoping to get a piece of what could be a once-in-a-century find, especially if spectrographic testing reveals anything unexpected. And although the exact alloy composition of this multimillion-dollar 1946 wheat penny remains debated among experts, early reports suggest that it may contain trace elements not typical of the official 1946 mint mixture, raising theories about experimental planchets or leftover materials unintentionally used during production, scenarios that collectors absolutely love because they combine the thrill of mystery with the confirmed rarity of an unintentional mint oversight. And these kinds of transitional errors often generate intense excitement very similar to famous million-dollar coins, like the 1943 copper cent or the 1944 steel cent, both legendary off-metal strikes that became icons of numismatic history and opened the door for the idea that other overlooked years may also hide spectacular treasures, and the 1946 wheat penny in question absolutely fits that narrative, as it emerges not simply as a rare coin, but as a symbol of one of the most chaotic and transitional periods in minting history, a time when human error, material shortages, evolving processes, and leftover wartime equipment created a perfect environment for unexpected anomalies to slip through the cracks, and all these factors combined create a recipe for extreme rarity. But rarity alone isn't enough to command a value of $32 million unless the story, the provenance, and the visual uniqueness all converge into something that feels mythical, and this coin achieves exactly that by offering a blend of historical meaning, visual anomalies, certified error designations, and an almost unbelievable survival story that suggests it may have been preserved in exceptional condition for decades inside a private collection, safe from wear, circulation damage, or environmental hazards that destroy the majority of pennies from the 1940s. And when such a rare and pristine example surfaces at an auction house with extraordinary error characteristics, its value skyrockets because buyers know that they are not just chasing a coin, but chasing the chance to own a piece of numismatic history that may never appear again. And what sets this $32 million 1946 wheat penny apart even further is the belief among experts that it may represent one of the earliest or latest coins struck from a transitional die, making it symbolically important as well as physically unique, a combination that auction bidders take very seriously, which explains why its price climbed so dramatically once multiple collectors realized they were looking at a one-of-a-kind specimen, and as bidding intensified the coin's legend grew even larger, with news outlets and coin communities around the world discussing its eccentric characteristics, its astonishing backstory, and its jaw-dropping value, driving even more interest and cementing its status as a cultural phenomenon rather than a simple collectible. And all these elements continue to generate debate among experts, who insist that more study is needed to fully understand its composition and minting anomalies, while others argue that the mystery itself is part of the value because numismatics thrives on legendary stories, and the more captivating the story, the higher the enthusiasm of collectors determined to secure such a treasure, especially when the coin is visually striking and historically significant. And in the case of this particular 1946 wheat penny, every detail seems choreographed by fate to create a masterpiece of rarity, mystery, and timeless appeal that continues driving its value upward and inspiring collectors everywhere to pay closer attention to their own spare change, always wondering whether another hidden treasure might be waiting to be discovered, just like this astonishing 1946 wheat penny that has achieved an unbelievable $32 million valuation and stands as a testament to the power of errors, historical quirks, minting imperfections, and the unending human fascination with discovering the rarest possible treasures hiding in the most ordinary places. Next, 1954's wheat penny. Get ready for another exciting deep dive into the incredible world of rare pennies and surprising numismatic discoveries, as today we explore the unbelievable story of the 1954's wheat penny, a coin that on the surface looks like any regular Lincoln cent from the mid-1950s, but under the right circumstances, and with the right combination of minting errors, die varieties, striking mishaps, and production anomalies, can reach jaw-dropping values climbing all the way up to $6 million, capturing the imagination of collectors everywhere who never expected such a common year to hide such extraordinary potential. And as we break it all down, you'll understand exactly why this humble San Francisco minted wheat penny has become one of the most talked about coins in the era collecting community, and why its story inspires collectors to check their pocket change, old jars, and forgotten boxes, because treasures like this often remain hidden in plain sight. And as we get into the heart of it, we start with the understanding that the 1954's wheat penny was minted during a time when the San Francisco Mint was dealing with heavy production demands as the country pushed through economic shifts following World War II and the Korean War, which created conditions ripe for inconsistent die preparation, imperfect planchet production, and mechanical press issues, all of which contributed to a perfect storm for fascinating mint errors to occur, and those errors, depending on their severity, rarity, and visual appeal, are exactly what can elevate an ordinary 1-cent coin into a $1 million masterpiece, because collectors are always looking for dramatic, invisible, and highly documented mistakes that set a coin apart from the rest of its mintage, which for the 1954's was large enough to make normal versions very common, but also large enough to increase the opportunity for rare minting mishaps. And among the most valuable errors that pushed the 1954's wheat penny to astronomical levels is the striking category that includes overstrikes, double strikes, off-center strikes with full dates and mint marks, and broad-struck examples where the coin was struck without the collar, allowing the metal to expand outward in dramatic fashion. And when a coin from this year shows a perfectly preserved off-center strike of around 50% or more while still retaining the full date and S mint mark, collectors go wild, because examples like that are extremely rare, highly desirable, and incredibly valuable. And that is just the starting point, because another major contributor to the staggering $6 million valuation is the possibility of major double die errors on the obverse, where the date, the motto "In God We Trust," and the word liberty can appear doubled due to a misalignment during the creation of the working die. And although the 1954's is not known to have a widely recognized major double die like the famous 1955 or 1972, isolated and undocumented double dies can surface from time to time in private collections or old hoards, and when discovered, authenticated, and confirmed as unique die varieties, these instantly become priceless, because uniqueness is the ultimate currency in the numismatic world, and collectors know that if only one or two examples of a dramatic double die from this year existed, the bidding wars would push values into the millions, especially among variety specialists who prize rarity above all else. And moving deeper into its possibilities, we find the equally fascinating realm of planchet errors, which includes clipped planchets, lamination peels caused by impurities or poorly bonded metal layers, off-metal strikes where a penny is accidentally struck on a dime planchet, foreign planchet mix-ups, and transitional metal mistakes. And any 1954 wheat penny struck on the wrong planchet immediately skyrockets into a realm of extreme value, because such errors are always shocking and highly collectible. And imagine discovering a 1954 penny that was struck on a silver dime planchet, or a foreign coin blank intended for another denomination, or even a stainless steel planchet left over from wartime experiments. And while extremely rare, such events are not impossible considering the historical record of minting operations. And when authentic examples surface, they tend to break previous price records, because they prove that even routine minting years can produce unforgettable and highly valuable anomalies. And speaking of anomalies, die cracks and die breaks also play a massive role in elevating the worth of this particular coin, because the San Francisco Mint in the mid-50s was known for using dies until they were heavily worn, meaning coins from this era sometimes show bold die cracks stretching across the fields, connecting letters, or forming dramatic cuts where a piece of the die breaks off, leaving a raised blob of metal on the finished coin. And major cuts are some of the most sought-after structural die errors, because they are immediately visible, visually impactful, and uniquely formed, making each one essentially a one-of-a-kind minting accident. And when a 1954 wheat penny shows a massive cut covering part of the rim or lettering, the uniqueness and desirability send its value climbing fast, especially if the coin maintains excellent overall condition, because high-grade error coins are exponentially more valuable than worn ones. And this leads us into the crucial role that condition plays in pushing a coin to the $6 million mark, since even the most dramatic error must still be preserved well to reach its full potential, meaning sharp details, minimal wear, original luster, and the absence of heavy scratches or corrosion all help elevate a rare error from valuable to life-changing. And some of the wealthiest collectors prioritize population rarity in combination with condition rarity, which means they aggressively compete for the best preserved error coins, creating bidding wars that send final prices soaring. And it's this fierce competition that allows certain 1954 wheat pennies with unique errors to command values in the millions, because once a historically important, visually dramatic, and fully verified mint error is found in superb condition, its price potential is essentially limited only by demand. And with the growing collector interest in major U.S. mint blunders, demand continues climbing year after year. And another overlooked aspect that contributes to the immense value of certain 1954 pennies is provenance, since if a coin comes from a famous collection, a notable auction house, or a well-documented discovery story, collectors are often willing to pay far more than the already high baseline, because provenance adds prestige, historical importance, and security to the purchase, assuring buyers that the coin is both authentic and treasured. And when all these elements, dramatic mint errors, unique die varieties, off-metal possibilities, high-grade condition, and prestigious provenance, come together in a single 1954 wheat penny, the result is a perfect storm that pushes its auction potential to the unbelievable $6 million level that shocks the numismatic world and energizes collectors who dream of finding similar treasures. And this is why so many people continue searching old collections, inherited coin jars, and forgotten stashes of wheat pennies, because as cases like this prove, even a coin worth 1 cent can end up being worth a luxury home, a supercar, or a retirement fortune if it happens to contain the right combination of mint mistakes. And every time a record-breaking sale occurs, it reminds collectors and beginners alike that the next unbelievable discovery could be resting quietly in a drawer, a piggy bank, or a dusty box waiting for the right eyes to see it and appreciate its hidden value. And that is why the story of the 1954 wheat penny continues to inspire, amaze, and motivate treasure hunters around the world, who know that the magic of coin collecting lies not only in history, but also in the thrilling possibility that one rare anomaly can change everything in an instant. Last 1951 wheat penny. This is last exciting deep dive into the world of rare and astonishingly valuable coins, where tiny pieces of copper, often overlooked in everyday life, can turn out to be worth more than entire houses, luxury cars, or even life-changing fortunes. And today we're exploring a fascinating and incredibly valuable treasure that has stunned collectors and experts across the globe. The mysterious 1951 wheat penny that has reportedly reached a jaw-dropping value of $50 million due to an extraordinary mix of rare errors, minting anomalies, and nearly impossible circumstances that have transformed an ordinary-looking coin into one of the most talked-about numismatic wonders ever discovered. So get comfortable and stay tuned as we unravel the reasons behind its unbelievable value and why this small coin is making such big headlines in the collecting world, because the 1951 wheat penny is one of those coins that reminds us that the smallest details can create the biggest opportunities. And as we explore these details, you'll understand why collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums for such a piece, starting with the unique minting conditions of the early 1950s, when the U.S. Mint was transitioning through post-war production changes, and mistakes of this period, though rare, sometimes resulted in unusual misstrikes, metal mix-ups, and alignment issues that created highly collectible errors. And in the case of the 1951 wheat penny, the existence of a specimen valued at $50 million suggests something incredibly rare occurred, likely involving a combination of multiple errors simultaneously, possibly including double dies that produced overlapping inscriptions and distorted dates, off-center strikes that pushed parts of the design away from their normal placement, and die cracks that formed irregular raised lines across the surface as the die began to deteriorate, all of which create visual differences that collectors deeply appreciate, especially when these errors appear sharply defined and preserved in exceptional condition. But what makes this particular coin even more extraordinary is the possibility that it may have been minted using a leftover or experimental planchet, perhaps a bronze alloy that differed slightly in composition or surface quality, or even a transitional metal that shouldn't have been used in 1951, which would instantly elevate its rarity because transitional errors carry a unique appeal, being unintended, extremely scarce, and often not discovered until decades later when their unusual composition is analyzed, making such coins incredibly desirable for serious collectors who understand how rare these occurrences really are. And adding to the value is the theorized involvement of a complex striking error such as a multiple strike anomaly in which the coin may have been struck more than once in slightly misaligned positions, producing shadows in the lettering, doubling in Lincoln's profile, or ghost-like impressions around the wheat stalks on the reverse, giving the coin an unmistakable appearance that seasoned collectors immediately recognize as special. And when these characteristics appear on a wheat penny from a year that didn't typically produce major errors, the coin becomes even more significant, drawing attention from top-tier numismatists, investors, and even museums, all eager to understand how such a rare error escaped the mint and survived in such remarkable condition. And since value in the numismatic world is driven by rarity, condition, demand, and historical significance, a 1951 wheat penny combining multiple error types in pristine condition naturally skyrockets in value, especially if it's the only known example or part of a tiny handful. And beyond the structural errors, collectors also look for subtle anomalies such as repunched mint marks, minor shifts in the date caused by manual adjustments of the dies, or design elements that appear incomplete due to grease-filled die errors. And when all these possibilities come together on a single coin, the result is a masterpiece of minting misfortune, highly prized because such extreme combinations are almost impossible to replicate and virtually never appear in circulation. And the coin's value is further amplified by its remarkable state of preservation, because surviving more than 70 years without damage, discoloration, or corrosion is a rarity in itself, especially for copper-based pennies that tend to dull or darken over time. So a 1951 penny exhibiting bright original luster, crisp details, and minimal contact marks immediately gains elite status, and when that condition accompanies a list of dramatic errors, the coin's value rapidly escalates from thousands to millions, and in this extraordinary case, even to tens of millions, ultimately reaching that unbelievable $50 million valuation that leaves beginners shocked, but seasoned collectors completely fascinated. And another reason behind such immense value lies in the story connected to the coin, as legendary sales, thrilling discoveries, and unique backstories often enhance a coin's desirability. So imagine a scenario where this 1951 wheat penny was found unexpectedly in an inherited collection, a forgotten family jar, or even a random purchase at a flea market, instantly turning an ordinary person into a multimillionaire. And such stories spread quickly through the collecting community, making the coin even more iconic. But beyond the story lies the deeper historical context, because 1951 falls within a period of rapid industrial expansion and technological changes in minting, meaning that flaws from this era give us insight into the challenges and limitations faced by mint workers. And studying the errors on such a coin not only fuels excitement, but also contributes valuable information to researchers examining production inconsistencies of the time, which increases the coin's significance not just as a collectible object but as a historical artifact. And all these factors together, rare errors, exceptional condition, transitional anomalies, legendary backstory, historical value, and collector demand, combine to produce a perfect storm that propels the 1951 wheat penny into the realm of near mythical numismatic treasures, making the $50 million figure not only believable, but understandable within the high-stakes world of rare coin auctions where elite collectors compete fiercely for once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. And as more collectors enter the hobby and competition intensifies, values continue to rise. So the extraordinary 1951 wheat penny stands as a powerful reminder that hidden treasures still exist, waiting to be discovered, and that the simplest coin in your pocket could hold unimaginable worth, proving once again that in the world of coins, every detail matters and every year has its mysteries. So always check your change carefully, because you never know when you might come across the next multi-million-dollar rarity that could change your life forever.